The iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Plus. Let's get these unboxed. So here we are. These are the brand new iPhone 15s this year, the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Plus. Now I've got one other box on the table, and that's because I've just finished putting up the video for this, the iPhone 15 Pro Max in this beautiful titanium. But wait till the end of this video to go and check that out. But right now, this year, the iPhone 15 boxes are pretty much the same as we've seen in the last year, but they just have different wallpapers on the front. I've got black and I've got blue. Right, let's pull back the tab on this and show you, wow, that's what the black iPhone 15 looks like. Pulling back the tab on the iPhone 15 Plus. Ouch. There we go. Drum roll. Whoa. And that's what the blue iPhone 15 Plus looks like. Interestingly, on first impressions, most people might look at this and think that looks more like a cream or a white color, but it's a very, very light pastel-y blue almost. All of this year's iPhone 15 series, including the Pros, have exactly the same things inside the box, including just one single Apple sticker and a SIM ejector tool. And this year, all of the models have been given an update with USB-C. So in the box, we no longer get a lightning cable. We get USB-C to USB-C cable in this beautiful, hopefully durable, braided kind of finish, which is nice to see. Pull back the plastic on this, get it powered up. So this is the 6.7-inch iPhone 15 Plus, and the smaller one is the 6.1-inch iPhone 15. Now, one of the big updates this year is when it comes to the screen on the iPhone 15. So whether you go for a Plus or the standard iPhone 15, you get a brand new OLED display with the dynamic island. Now, previously we saw Apple introduce this to the Pro models, but this year this has been updated for the non-Pro models. I think on first impressions, most people might assume this year's iPhone 15s are very similar to last year's, but I think there is a noticeable difference and a jump up. What I mean by that is Apple have done a couple of things to refine the iPhone in a way that most people might overlook. First of all, from a design perspective, on the back, Apple are using something called a color-infused glass. So this means that adding color to this year's iPhone lineup is much, much more deeper than just a surface layer. It actually permeates throughout the entire glass. And that's noticeable because on the lighter colors, you'll see you have this kind of very different effect. This is supposed to be blue, but in different lighting, you'll get white, you'll get cream, you get blue. The other thing that they've done for refinement is they've made it much, much more comfortable to hold. This is noticeable with the iPhone 15, but more so with the larger iPhone 15 Plus. How they've done that is by tapering the edges, so it doesn't feel as hard or as sort of edgy in the hand when you're using it for prolonged periods of time than compared with last year. Now, year on year, we do get a bump up when it comes to the chip. And this year we get the A16 Bionic. That A16 Bionic is going to be really useful in a couple of ways. Number one, the A16 Bionic helps with that dynamic island, but it also means that you're going to get better performance for a whole range of day-to-day tasks. So multitasking should be slightly improved. You should notice that when you're gaming, more graphic intensive, particularly also with the neural engine, which now also helps to power on the back the camera. And this is another major update when it comes to the iPhone 15, because we get a brand new 48 megapixel sensor in this camera, and that camera can perform some pretty impressive stuff. Now, that 48 megapixel main camera comes with a quad pixel sensor. What that basically means is it allows more light in, and that allows for a noticeable difference between low light photography and videography. This is something that I noticed having used this for a couple of days, and I think most people will notice this as well. The other interesting thing is that combined with that A16 Bionic that I was talking about earlier on, and with iOS 17, there is changes now to the photonic engine that will allow you to get more out of the photography experience. One of the examples here is that with that quad pixel sensor, with the 48 megapixel main camera, you're basically able to get more light in and also more information. So practically what that means is you might be taking a picture of someone in the normal mode, and then later on when you're editing that, you'll be like, oh, I wonder if I could have taken a better picture as a portrait shot. Well, now in editing, after that photo has been taken, you'll be able to edit that in portrait. And the portrait shots in this actually come out really, really nice. There's been a couple of changes with the respect to the zero shutter lag, low light performance. That means that the overall portrait quality of images, I certainly noticed, were much, much better. Right, so here's a test of the video. Currently filmed in 4K 30 frames per second, but this can film all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second, and should give you an idea of how it performs with stabilization as I move around. Obviously, iPhone video has typically been very, very good, and with the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, they improve on that. Now, one of the things that has improved, and I think I've mentioned this already, is you have smoother scrolling now throughout the different lenses. So that's something that I've also noticed while testing this out. Is when it comes to 4K cinematic on the 15 and 15 Plus, it will record 4K 30 frames per second, but you can now start zooming in, so it gives it a bit more dynamic cinematic, and you hopefully be able to see how much I'm sweating out here. It's hot. One of the important things is battery life. So battery life on this, it's been a couple of days, almost a week for me testing this out. I have noticed a slight improvement on the battery life when compared with last year's iPhone 14, but we have to give it a bit of time really to see how the battery performs long term. What I will say though is, if battery is important to you and also the larger screen real estate, then do consider the iPhone 15 Plus. Now that Apple have refined the design element of it, it's not as difficult to hold one-handed than last year's iPhone 14 Plus. But certainly if you want better battery, you're gonna get that with the iPhone 15 Plus over the standard iPhone 15. So something to be aware of there. Let me know your thoughts about this year's iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. Are you interested in picking one of these up? And if you're interested and can't decide about the colors, I've got a really easy, simple, straight to the point video for you guys to check out. So do check that out after this one here. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit like, and I'll see you for another video here on EMKWAN Reviews.